JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. It's an absolute wild anime that for some reason I just really enjoy. I don't know. It gets just the creativity and the strangeness of it at times. It's just, I find hysterical. But one of my favorite aspects and the thing that we're going to be talking about today is actually how they end every episode, which looks a little bit like this. Hello, devoted geeks, and welcome to Geek Devotional, a show from devoted geeks who are devoted to letting you know you're loved. I'm Dallas. I'm so glad you've hit the play button today. If you're new to our show, we take geek pop culture items like movies, video games, comic books, and we use it to let people know that they're loved. So if you don't watch past this moment right here, right now, know this. We love you. We care about you. There is a plan and a purpose for your life. Do not give up. Now, before we continue the episode, I do want to give a very special thank you to all of our devoted Patreon geeks. Thanks to you guys, we've been able to do all this right here. But also, Celeste and I have just submitted our applications for not just one, but 2 different cons to be present on the floor. And thank you guys so much for believing in what we do here, of letting people know in the geek community, the geeky spaces, that they're loved and they're cared for, and helping us to go and do these events. So we just want to say thank you. And if you want to help us do those things and all the stuff we do here on a regular basis on YouTube and other platforms, go to our website, geekdevotions.com, click on the store page where you can become a devoted Patreon geek or find out how to give a one-time gift. That being said, let's get into the actual conversation. As I said, one of my favorite parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures is actually the tagline that takes place at the end, where the music plays and all of a sudden slaps up on the screen is "to be continued." And I love it so much because it really does leave me wanting more. Every episode of every season just gets absolutely wilder and crazier, and it leaves you going, what's happening next? Where are we gonna go on this wild ride? All the way from the very first season, where it's simply a dude fighting a vampire, to the last season where you have a lady who's in prison and she's got these magical powers, but so does the villain. But the villain turns out to be the guy from the first season from 300 years beforehand. What's happening here? But as wild as it all gets, there's always this promise of, hey, there's something more on the backside. And even those times where the show gets really dark and we're like, man, there's something that we're concerned about with the main heroes of the time, we know that to be continued means there can be hope, and there will be hope coming soon. Which brings me to the reason why I love that so much. To be continued is an interesting phraseology that tells us that there's something more. There's something to be expecting. It's an idea that we need to keep in our hearts and our minds as we go through life. The reality of the situation is that so many of us as we go through life find ourselves in places where we feel lost, confused, and disoriented, where we feel like there's no hope in sight, and we are worried beyond belief. But even amongst that, even amid that turmoil, we have to grab hold of hope. And that's where this conversation of to be continued comes in place. I've talked to many people over the years, and too many people that I've known or I've heard about, they didn't stop to wait for the to be continued. They just found themselves in a hole, and they ended things in one fashion or another. They gave up on a promise. They gave up on other aspects that God had given them, or that there was hope around the corner. Or, sadly, some of them gave up on life. They didn't want to wait for the backside of to be continued. In the Old Testament, there's this book called Lamentations, and it is absolutely depressing. The majority of it has a man talking about just how his life is terrible, how everything's falling apart, and how there's no hope. He feels like everything on the inside is rotting away. I'm telling you guys right now, this guy was just an eyeliner and a screamo song away from being the first emo band ever. But amid all that, this depression he's in, he says something interesting in Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 and 23. And it says this: "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." You see, this is something that the person who wrote this was trying to remind himself of, that even though things are rough, and even though things are going through just terrible situations right now, he knows that there's a to be continued, that God's mercies are new every day, and that while this moment in time may not be good and it's depressing because of life situations, there is a to be continued that says that God's mercies are coming in on the backside, that there is hope, there's restoration, that there is a possibility of peace if we just hold on for the moment. Now, how long is a moment? Honestly, a moment can never feel like it's quick enough, can it? But it's still a moment. Some moments feel like they're ages. But once you get past those moments, if we put our faith and trust in God and what He has for us, we can have hope on the backside. As long as we cling to that to be continued, the promise, there's something more coming behind us. My challenge for you, my encouragement for you guys, is to grab hold of that to be continued. Surround yourself with people who can help you to remember, hey, there's something to take place. There is a to be continued around the corner for you today. Find yourself in a place that will love you, encourage you, and point you to hope. I want to encourage you guys, if you're on other social medias outside of this YouTube video, maybe we have a Discord channel, guys. Geek Devotions has a Discord channel. We have an Instagram, we have a Facebook. Look for Geek Devotions on those things. Let us help you to understand there's a to be continued. Get involved in our community. Go to Devoted Geek Life on Facebook. Get involved in a local church where people can go, hey, there's a to be continued. Do not give up. I know it's rough. I know that your finances are struggling right now. I know that perhaps you have family members who are just going through the worst possible situation. Perhaps you yourself are in a terrible situation that is unspeakable and unimaginable. But there is a to be continued. Do not give up. And if you are in these situations, guys, hold on. Get connected with a community that can hold you up. Get the help that you need to get through the moments. Like I said, guys, this has been going through my head for a while. This conversation to be continued. And I hope it's encouraged you. I hope it's challenged you in some fashion. Celeste, I genuinely want to encourage you. If you have a prayer request, guys, put it in the chat. Put it in the comment section here on YouTube. Now, there's so much more to this conversation of to be continued. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, we're going to share that with you. All right, so as I said, there was a to be continued. Depending on when you watch this video, over here on this side, you may actually see the link to see the actual to be continued where we continue this conversation, or you may see a best suggested video for you. Either way, check out that video. But also, if the new episode hasn't come out yet, where we continue the conversation on to be continued, hit the subscribe button you see down the page and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss how things work out. Again, don't forget to check out our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just look for Geek Devotions. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay devoted. Peace and love.